Hey there! Today's video is going to teach you the 3 things you absolutely must do if you're planning to transfer to a different law school next fall. Today's video is all about transferring. For those of you who are new, my name is Cindy Montgomery. I'm the owner and founder of Montgomery Admissions Consulting, where I provide personalized college counseling and law school admissions consulting. Growing up in a military and Jamaican household, education was so important to my family. As the first lawyer in my family, and as a graduate from Princeton and Harvard Law School, I work hard to make sure that my students are breaking down generational barriers, believing in themselves, stepping confidently into their future, and creating communities for life. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about the 3 things you need to do if you're planning to transfer to a different law school next fall. Those 3 things are make a plan, make connections, and make certain that transferring is the best thing for your career. So, point number 1, make a plan. Usually, when people think about transferring, they have one goal. I need to get the best GPA possible so that I can transfer to the best law school possible. And obviously, that's a pretty good plan, but you want to get a little bit more specific. Best law school possible. What does that mean? Where are you trying to go? And best GPA possible. What do you really need to do in order to achieve your goals? I'm always telling my students, the work that you put in and the effort that you put in should match your goals. Work smarter, not harder. So if your goal is to transfer to a different school, but within the same geographic region because maybe you have a family or you've already got roots, well, look to see what the average incoming JD1 GPA is. If everywhere around you, the average or median incoming JD1 GPA is about a 3.5. Don't kill yourself for that 3.9. Obviously, you do want to try to get the best GPA possible, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to have sleepless nights and you have to be sacrificing your mental health. And honestly, no matter where you're trying to transfer to, it's never a good idea to have multiple sleepless nights and sacrifice your mental health. Your mental health is really important. If you burn out your 1L year because you're trying to transfer, not only will you not do well 1L year, but you also won't transfer. So really take care of yourself. I know for me, I actually started cooking in law school. I had never really lived on my own before. I was one of those K through JD students who went straight through. And so when I got my own studio apartment during 1L, I really decided to try to get good at cooking. And so I used Blue Apron and Home Chef. I actually did the math. It was cheaper for me to do Blue Apron and Home Chef, believe it or not. I lived on Harvard University housing, and so I didn't have a ton of money. I worked during 1L for sure, but it actually really helped me budget to know, okay, X number of dollars per week is for dinner. I did 1 box for 6 dinners a week. And I just had that 30 minutes every other day of cooking those meals that really allowed me to not focus on cases or outlining or briefing. I could just learn a new skill. That was so good for my mental health. It was so good to have a moment that I carved out for centering. So no matter what your goals are, whether you're trying to graduate cum laude or transfer to a different school, you want to make sure that you're carving out time so that you can rejuvenate yourself, so that you can be the best that you can be in the classroom the next day. But okay, so you have this plan. Let's say you need a 3.5 GPA. Well, really, how did we get to that number? You want to figure out what are the schools you want to be transferring to. So you want to evaluate your goals. What are your long-term career goals? And then you want to see what's kind of realistic or probable. So one of the things that I advise my students to do when they work with me in transferring is to really study those ABA 509 disclosures. And if you don't know what that is, I actually have a blog post when you're choosing law schools about how you can really break down the different sections of the ABA 509 disclosures. So those are mandatory disclosures that the American Bar Association says that all law schools need to have on their admissions profile. It has a wealth of knowledge. It talks about scholarships, it talks about the different demographics of its incoming class, but it really has some very valuable information for students who are thinking about transferring. It actually tells you how many students have transferred out of the school, which which actually could tell you whether or not people like it there or whether it has just a really good platform for getting you to a higher ranked school. It tells you how many students have transferred in to that school. So you know if it's a school that generally accepts a lot of transfers. You'll see some schools where they accept 49, 50, 60 transfer students, and then you'll see some schools where they accept 4. Those are harder schools to transfer into. But you will also see where they've transferred from. And this is really the key and the crux to why this is such an important piece of data for you. You can see, oh my gosh, American sends X number of schools to this particular school. So maybe since I go to American, that would be a really good school for me to try to transfer to. Or I can see, wow, they usually take transfer students from this geographic area. Or every year, because you can see 509 reports, not just for last year. They have the 2019 data up right now, but you can see 2018, 2017, 2016. You can start to see if there's a pattern. When you're building your school list, you want to be building a list that includes schools that historically have taken transfer students from the school that you're currently at, because they're used to your classes and your transcript and your professors. It's going to make for a smoother process. And then you want to see what their average JD1 GPA is. That's your GPA coming from your first year of law school. Now, transfer applications are on a completely different timeline, and I'll talk about that in a different video, but your 1L fall semester grades are super important. Of course, they're going to take both grades, but your 1L fall semester grades are so important, and you want to be striving for that good GPA. So you're going to make a plan. One, right? You're going to see what are the schools that I want to transfer to based on my career goals, and then based on historical transfer data using that 509 plan to craft the GPA that I need. 2, you're going to make connections. So that's connections both within your school that you're currently at and connections at the schools that you're interested in. So let's start with connections at the school you're currently at. You're going to need to get 1L professor letters of recommendation to transfer. And that can be hard depending on how much time you're really spending in class, whether that's a virtual class or a hybrid class or an in-person class. But actually, I think no matter the format, whether you're in person or virtual, you can get a lot of really great time with the professor. You just have to be strategic. What do I mean by that? Definitely take advantage of office hours. And if you can't go to office hours or your professor doesn't have a lot of office hours posted, ask to get a virtual coffee or an in-person coffee as safety precautions allow. But don't just go and say, hey, Professor Smith, I'm thinking of transferring. No, everything that you do in the legal world is about relationship building. I encourage you to have a relational mindset and not a transactional mindset, not just for law school, but as you go through your legal profession and your legal career. I can tell you, I have friends from law school who still I call or they call me because they know I'm really good at family law and I don't know anything maybe about small employment law, and I might call a friend. We have these connections. You want to be able to have a network of people that you trust, and sometimes that can include your professors because your professors are actually experts in their field. So get to know your professors. Start day one. Share with them your goals and what you're interested in. Even if it's 1L and you have a required set curriculum, you can still find ways to build those connections. I built fantastic connections with my professors my first year, and I'm still friends with a lot of them right now. I go back and visit when it's safe to do so. I message them just to see how they're doing with the pandemic. I remember things about like, oh yeah, your kid was going to middle school. How's that transition? Again, it's about relationship building and not about just the transactional nature of they're my professor, they give me a grade, I ask them for a letter, they write a great one. That's not really how this works. So you want to be forming those connections with the professors at your current school. And if there are professors at the school that you're looking to transfer to, or a few professors, because maybe there's a few schools on your list, in areas that you're really passionate about, reach out and introduce yourself. Again, it's not transactional, so you're not going to be like, well, I'm looking to transfer to this school. No. In fact, to the professor on the other end, you can just be a law school student at the school that you're at. Hey, I'm a student at XYZ University, and I saw that you're doing this really cool research. I would love to take 20 minutes of your time maybe to chat about it as I continue on my legal career. Because this is the thing, the legal world, it's small. And especially if you're interested in something niche, it can get real small. So you really might just want to connect with that professor, even if you never transfer to that school. They really might help you on your career goal. They might help you get an internship or a job. They might know someone or be friends with someone who's hiring you. Like I'm telling you, the legal world is so small. So you really do want to be reaching out to professors who are thought leaders in the areas of law that you want. That is how you form these really good connections and bonds. The other really great thing about forming these connections with those professors is that if you get waitlisted or if they ask why you want to go to a school, you'll have real things to say beyond just the website. The third thing that you want to do is make certain that transferring is for you. So, of course, there are some downsides to transferring, even though there are sometimes a lot more positives and benefits, especially if you feel like you're going to a school with more resources or a stronger alumni network or just more connections and ability to help you get ahead in your career. There are lots of great reasons to transfer. However, there are some things that you might miss out on. There's immense bonding that happens with your first year section. When you transfer to a different school, you won't have those section mates. You won't have gone through that 1L experience with them. Beyond the emotional, there are some opportunities that you might miss out on. I know at Harvard, a lot of the things that you can apply to for your 2L and 3L year, like our Board of Student Advisors, or our Legal Aid Bureau, or even the Law Review, they really happened and that process started second semester of 1L year. So if you're transferring in, you don't really have the same opportunities as someone else who had been there their first year. And then, of course, there's the issue of scholarships and financial aid. Although I don't want that to deter you, there are so many schools that offer great scholarships to transfer students. So you want to be asking about that. And then you want to be looking at outside and private scholarships. There are so many ways that you can fund your legal education. I believe in your ability to find the path for you. When you're thinking about whether transferring is the right move for your career, you also want to look at the school that you are at. Sometimes going from a regional to a national school isn't the greatest idea because maybe you want to practice in that region and maybe your regional school has stronger connections or is more embedded in the community. It is also sometimes better to be top of your class at a lower ranked school than the middle or the bottom of your class at a higher ranked school. But I know that all of you listening are going to thrive and you're going to do great. So you won't be at the bottom of your class, but I just wanted to give you that perspective as well, because sometimes you are able to really make a difference and an impact in the community, and you're able to carry out that mission and that vision that you have for your legal career, no matter the prestige or the ranking. Rankings aren't everything. What matters is the impact and the connections you're able to make. That is what makes a great lawyer, and that is how you catapult your legal career. So, just to recap, we learned the 3 essential things that you need to know if you're planning on transferring to law school next year. You have to make a plan, look at your school list, those 509 reports, and your GPA plan. Make connections with the professors at your school and maybe professors at the schools that you're interested in. And then, of course, you need to make certain that the pros and benefits of transferring in your particular situation outweigh some of the downsides. I hope this video has been helpful. I am so excited about your law school journey, and I know that you're going to be a successful lawyer no matter what. If you found this video helpful, be sure to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Turn those notifications on and leave me a comment down below. What do you want to see my next video on? What questions do you have about the transfer process? I would love to answer them for you. Of course, if you are the first in your family to go to law school, I encourage you to join my Facebook group, Barrier Breakers Law School Edition, where I go live for free and I answer your questions that you have about the law school application process or about just being a first-generation law school student. I also lead prayer calls in that group to encourage you and inspire you on your journey. I look forward to meeting you. I can't wait to see you next time.